Hey everyone and welcome back to Final Fantasy XIV, where today it is time for our level 56 Black Mage quest. Before we get started, Minion Roulette as usual, giving us the Piggy. Hello there. Alright, we are in patch 7.3 at this point. There were job changes to many jobs, but we're not going to be going over those job changes until we hit the level 58 job quest. So we're going to hold off on that for now. Lalai, any luck in the investigation? Lalai has received another letter. And we are unlucky in Oaken. Okay, here we go. Satora, I've received another letter. Danger, please help me hide in Alder Springs. Tell Satora. Dozel. That's all it says. The handwriting is barely legible. It doubtless goes without saying, but Dozelman Locke is in need of our help. I shall have to tell Jayanala about this. Do not dwell on his previous outbursts. I know you have full control of your powers. Use this opportunity to show that man the true cunning and finesse that a black mage can bring to the fight. Enough talk. Hurry to Alder Springs and save Dozel Malak. Alright, our Ixal ally is in danger. That's not good at all. Off to Alder Springs. And hopefully whoever is attacking will not die this time. Alright, Alder Springs down to the southwest. Should be fairly easy to reach. There you are. Oh dear. Alright, let's get thunder going on them. And attack the middle ones so our AoEs will be more centered. Oh, well, this is going smoothly. They barely put up any sort of a fight. Thank you, Satora. Save Dozel's life you have. Kazakh Cha tried to warn Dozel. Dozel panicked, tried to flee, but get caught, Dozel did. Squawk! Somehow knew that Dozel was exiled from tribe, these mages did. So into the forest they chased Dozel. Squawk! Finally, they surrounded Dozel, offered friendship at first, but rejected Dozel did. They said if Dozel is not friend, then Dozel enemy. But save Dozel you did, many thanks. God, that was too late again! You've already cut your swath of reckless destruction! What did you plan to achieve? How many more lives must you end before you realize how fruitless this is? Wait, these wounds, they're unlike anything I've ever seen. It looks like they're incinerated from the inside. Well, I didn't do that! Satora, was this perhaps not your doing after all? Of what does this man speak? Pursued Dozel for a long time, these men did. Tried to kill Dozel. Squawk! Explain, who are they? What did they want? So they've been hunting down the black magic users, trying to recruit them. Dozel understands now. Squawk! Read the Book of Thal they did. Learned the mother of Dozel. Learned of her secrets. Dozel's secrets. Made clear their pursuit is. But these wounds, perhaps Dozel has an explanation. These men did not have the gem of Shatoto. Squawk! Dozel thinks that is why they died. Gem of Shatoto? Whatever are you talking about? Gem is proof that Satora is true black mage. The Soul Crystal! Gem brims with magical power. Without Gem of Shatoto, impossible to control the most powerful black magic is. Squawk! Lost control these mages did. Ether within their own bodies ignited. Burned alive from the inside. Painful way to die it is. So these defiant mages fell victim to their own arrogance, using dark magics that far outstrip their ability to control them. So Satora isn't at fault. The answers you seek, Dozel hopes you find. But Dozel cannot stay here. Dozel must leave. Thank you, Satora. Dozel owes you debt of life. Squawk! One day, Dozel will repay. So these men were slain not by your hand, but by their own use of powers they couldn't control. But please understand that the fact that you can control your powers does nothing to resolve the issue at hand. You should return to Lalai and explain to her what happened here. Please accept my apologies for my earlier accusations. I appreciate the apologies, and I honestly do understand your perspective a little bit more now. Black magic is so dangerous that it will literally incinerate you if you don't have a soul crystal to help you control it. Horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. That said, that kind of means the problem is self-containing? As long as we can make sure that the gems of Shitoto only go to those who can be trusted with the power? Surely that should be a sufficient compromise for you. Hopefully. Satora, was Dozumalak unharmed? He was, but it was a close thing. And we learned why the other mages are dying. I see. Well, if nothing else, it seems that Jaya Nelha no longer doubts your innocence. But the Defiant were immolated from within. If Dozumalak's conjecture is accurate, the cult situation becomes quite clear. But I hardly need to explain that to you, do I? Yeah, if they are trying to learn black magic, but they are lacking in gems of Shitoto, then they desperately need to find some other way to control it. But I still cannot condone Jaya Nella's attitude. I've struggled ceaselessly through my studies of the dark arts myself with what little power I have. Perhaps none can understand the Defiant's motivations better than I. The Defiant's numbers cannot continue to grow indefinitely. They will have difficulty swelling their ranks when they cannot use their powers without the risk of a horrifying death by immolation. Thus they strive for control over the dark arts while showing themselves only to our beastmen friends in the hopes that they might reveal the secrets to controlling these magics. Fortunately, we have prevented them from learning anything. With these avenues now lost to him, Waldev must realize that he is running out of options. Though we may lack leads from which to track down the Defiants, their position becomes weaker the longer they wait. They will soon be forced to take action. There is no need to rush. We need simply wait the enemy out. This is a very fair point. Enochian. Oh, Enochian. Ah, this is quite the trait. So, Enochian is a trait that was both buffed and nerfed by the big changes that Black Mage got in patch 7.2. Increases damage dealt by 5% while under the effect of Astral Fire or Umbral Ice. Awesome! So whenever we have our elemental gauge up, which is the entire fight, that whenever we're fighting, we're gonna get a 5% damage buff. So we just basically have a straight up 5% damage buff to all of our magic spells. Wait, was it just elemental spells? Oh, just damage dealt in general. Okay. So yeah, just straight 5% damage buff. Just flat out. Awesome. Before the patch 7.2 changes, there was a timer on your Astral Fire and Umbral Ice. And if you didn't refresh your Astral Fire or Umbral Ice in time, you would lose the elemental gauge. It would go back to default, neutral, no element, and you would lose your Enochian. So Black Mage had a very high risk-reward balance going on, whereas you could keep that elemental gauge up, even in difficult fights that force you to move a lot, you would be rewarded with a 5% damage buff staying up for the entire fight. But if you screwed up and let the gauge run out, you would lose the damage buff and you'd have to rebuild it by getting your gauge back up. Which also comes with slower cast times to get those casts back up in the first, or get the gauge back up in the first place. Black Mage was a very high risk reward back then. Now that there is no more timer, that risk is gone. Okay, that's definitely going to remove a lot of the identity from Black Mage. I understand why people are upset about it. On the other hand, 99.9% of the time, it was like trivial to keep your gauge up. It was not an issue. It was literally a non-issue. Like, only in like high-end content were you going to start running into issues with dropping Enochian. And with the current content that's been coming out for Final Fantasy XIV, even the more like main story tier content is starting to get to the point where like it's really difficult to keep Enochian up, or it was really difficult to keep Enochian up, to the point where it's becoming unreasonable for more casual players to even try to play Black Mage. We've talked about this in patch 7.2. I'm not going to get into a big deep dive on it again. I think overall Black Mage is better for this, but I do hope that with they've said they want to do a big rework for the jobs to improve their identities in the next expansion. And I Black Mage is one job that could probably benefit from that. I do think it has a pretty strong identity still, but it did lose a bit with the simplification of the job to make it easier for casual players to even use Black Mage at all. Anyways, with that, next time on Final Fantasy XIV, more main story as we continue trying to learn about this Azizla and where the Pope has gone. I will see everyone next time for that.